In today's video, we'll talk about the new movie Space Jam: A New Legacy and the computer game that the character Dom developed. So last week, my family and I watched Space Jam. I love the movie for a few reasons. One, I got to live some of my younger days. I'm still young. And frankly, who doesn't love Looney Tunes and Bugs Bunny and the likes? Tasmanian Devil was my favorite. And then two, it was about a kid who wrote a computer game, which I think is totally awesome. As a software engineer, watching movies about programming gets me excited. That being said, like my software architect antenna goes into overdrive and I start looking for ways to improve their fictitious apps. In Space Jam, Dom's computer game crashes and he is crushed that he has lost one of his characters.
No.
Till you fix it, because I don't want nothing. Hey, don't try to blame me for that.
No. Don't erase my character.
So how do we fix this? Games, websites, programs crash all the time. We wish they didn't. We put a lot of guardrails in place to make sure they don't. We practice our trade, we read books, we watch YouTube videos. By the way, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitter so you can learn more. But inevitably they will. So how do we fix this? You might be screaming, save our data, and you're probably right. But the question is, how or where do we store that data? Or more technical terms, how do we persist our data? Well, the easiest place would be to persist it in memory. So think of a POJO that has a field and the end user makes changes, a setter is called, and the value is stored to a field. When persisting in memory, if the application crashes, what happens to that value in memory? Well, they're gone. The data that's stored in memory is ephemeral. And granted, it's a perfectly valid use case to store your data in memory, as long as losing that data is not a concern. For Dom, that was not the case.
My entire character is gone. It's gonna take me at least a week to rebuild this.
No lie, I'm sure at one point or another in our careers, we've felt that. The fact that we have to start over again or do something over again, which is so painful, and I really feel bad for him, and his face is so sad, and it really just got me in the feels. All right, so what's another place that we can store our data? You can think of like a flat file. You can store it to local storage, right? The computer browser's local storage, right? If the app crashes, our data is still intact, and when the app opens again, the value is still there. This approach is important, like when you need offline support, right? Your application might not always have access to the internet, and you need to still be able to save state, right? However, we're not in control of this data. The user could always clear their browser storage, they could always change browsers, or they could delete the flat file on their computer if this is like a computer app. And then if that happens, then the data is gone, right? So that's no bueno. The next option would be to store it on a server.
Tom?
Not that server room. First, there's a bad guy named Algorithm. Algorithm, got it? Yeah? Ha 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 ha. Let's take a look at him.
Look at your faces. You were terrified. Priceless.
Secondly, you really can't just walk into a data center like, having Dom and King James walking around in a server room, like something's wrong about that. Or like, when his family did.
Hey, yo, he's probably in here. Don't be scared. Come on.
Welcome, James family.
Wait.
Ladies first. No.
Really?
No? All right. Now I'm gonna go first. I'm a gentleman.
Uh-huh.
Run!
If your data center allows that, it might be time to migrate to the cloud. But most importantly, as you probably guessed by my channel name, I'm all about serverless. So the app would go through a REST API, post the data, right? And on AWS, that REST API would go through API Gateway, then to, let's say, AWS Lambda. It would process the data, and then persist it to some data store like DynamoDB, for example. By the way, follow this link if you want to go through my series of creating a serverless microservice on AWS. All right, the next time the app on any device loads, it would call a GET REST API. It would then get that saved data, show that client where they left off, and move on. So let's summarize. Your application data is very important, right? Your application is probably going to crash at one point or another. And lastly, you need to store that data. Where can you store it? In memory, in local storage, in a backend service. Each of these approaches have pros and cons. You kind of need to weigh those against your use case. In the case of Space Jam, I'm actually kind of glad he didn't fix the error because, thanks to Bugs Bunny sacrificing himself, King James and Dom are actually able to crash the virtual game that they're stuck in and escape that data center.
In and out, crossover, step back.
Bugs, no!
All right. So if you want to know what happens to Bugs Bunny, check out Space Jam in theaters or on HBO Max. If you like what you saw today, please like, subscribe, and share. Want to keep the learning going? Check out these links. And most importantly, happy coding.